Hi, I'm Jenny from herworklife.com, and today I'm really pleased to talk to Marcus Cauchi. Now, Marcus is known as London's toughest sales trainer, and he teaches the Sandler technique. Now, Sandler was voted Best Management Training Programme 9 times by Entrepreneur magazine. So today what I'd like to ask Marcus is about his early career, how and why he became a Sandler trainer, and why people keep failing at selling and growing their business, and how he gets clients and how he grew his business. And then finally, his advice for anyone that perhaps is interested in becoming a sales trainer themselves or that are really serious about growing their business. So welcome, Marcus.
Thank you very much, Jenny.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. So can you tell me, first of all, Marcus, a bit about you, a bit about your early career and what led you to becoming a Sandler trainer?
Okay, I've been in direct sales 25 years and did my degree in Middle Eastern Studies, which was 4 years watching spaghetti hoops run across a page for a slightly hungover haze. I then fell into sales and I got 1 year's experience 17 times over before I came across Sandler. So I wasn't particularly successful. I worked very hard. I wasted a lot of time chasing people who didn't really want to buy, but they did want to know what I knew. They wanted to steal my information. They wanted me to write proposals so that they could shop my stuff around and get it cheaper. They wanted me to do free consulting because they didn't want to pay me. And I was foolishly tricked into believing the buyer's biggest lie, which is the customer is king and the buyer is always right. The customer is never more than my equal, I've realised. And the buyer almost never knows what the real problem is, because if he did, he'd have fixed it already. So I realised I had some power when I came across the Sandler system 8 years ago, and the moment I saw it, it just made sense. No proposals, no pitches, only present to people who'd agreed to buy. If someone wants me to write a proposal, they tell me what goes into it, and I act as a scribe, and then they give me a check. I disqualify non-prospects and time wasters quickly. And it's just a blast. I mean, so you should live to sell, not sell to live. Selling should be fun. If it's not fun and if it isn't simple, you're doing it wrong. And that's been one of the most important lessons I've learned from Sandler.
But Sandler, I mean, having gone through the Sandler technique and the system myself, it's not just about selling, is it? It's kind of a whole philosophy on business and growing business. Would you agree?
I would, at the risk of sounding like I'm reversing you. I mean, what did you take out of it?
I knew.
What difference did it make to you?
I knew you were gonna reverse it. I knew it straight away, and I thought, how am I going to cope with this? Because I'm supposed to be asking the questions.
Well, if you could answer that question for me, it would help me give you a much more clarified answer.
Well, I found that there was quite a lot of psychology involved, actually. And I mean, I think it's not just for people who want to grow a business, a CEO or an owner. It's for anyone that's in business and perhaps maybe working for a big corporation like I was when I started working with you, and who wants to navigate the political environment. And I found it quite interesting. One of the most powerful things that you touched on, which is a tiny part of what Sandler teaches, but it's the psychology of the intentions behind the people that you're working with. This victim, rescuer, kind of child, this whole transactional analysis thing where people are either behaving in an adult mode or a child mode. Now, I know that's lifted from NLP, but...
Well, it's not actually. It's lifted from TA. We've stolen from everywhere. Talent creates, genius steals, and we're really good geniuses. So we've taken from the law, we've taken from psychology, psychiatry, from medicine. The purpose of selling is to identify why someone needs help and then to help them achieve their objective. The mistake people make is, just a quick game of word association for anyone fortunate enough to be seeing you being interviewed, is a quick game of word association. First word that comes to mind when I say table, chair, ceiling, light, salesperson. Okay? Now, how many of you responded with a negative thing about salespeople like pushy, greedy, arrogant, commission, loud, boisterous, stupid, arrogant, yucky, charlatan, and various others. Now, if that's your perception of salespeople, you don't want to be seen as one. So a simple rule that I learned from Sandler is don't look, act, smell, taste or feel like a salesperson. Do the opposite. And to understand why people do things, it's important to come with the positive intent that you're genuinely interested in understanding them and understanding their reasons for wanting to fix the problem that they've got themselves into. So we talk about a concept called pain. And there's a very interesting bit of research where there was a company selling gas and they're trying to get people to switch to a different provider. And they did a test down the left-hand side of the street. They got people to say in their pitch, if you buy from us today, you'll save 50 pence a day. And on the right-hand side of the street, they got the salespeople to say, if you don't buy from us today, you'll lose 50 cents a day. Now, what do you think the conversion rate difference was between the left-hand side, you'll save, and you'll lose on the right-hand side?
It's got to be higher on the right-hand side, isn't it?
Okay, 5 times. 500% higher close rate for moving away from pain instead of moving towards pleasure or gain.
And I think this kind of works against what everyone is kind of brought up on the premise that you have to sell features and benefits, right?
Complete fallacy. So if you sell features and benefits, you extend the sales cycle, you educate your prospect, and an educated prospect is no prospect at all. Let me repeat that. Educating your prospect, it lengthens your sales cycle and reduces the chances of you getting a sale or getting your full fees. Okay? Prospects are interested in their enlightened, sometimes self-enlightened self-interest, but more often than not their selfish self-interest. And most adults are children trapped in adult bodies. Okay? If you look around, most of the people that you do business with never made it beyond the mental age of a 12-year-old boy or an 8-year-old girl. So expecting anything adult out of them when they're scared. And again, I don't know what your audience, where your audience is in their business, but history tells me that most people live in fear of picking up the phone. They don't like the idea of interrupting. They're afraid of being rejected. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid of outpricing themselves. They're afraid of upsetting the prospect by telling them the truth, that they haven't got a clue and that they are a complete ass. But actually, the grim reality is that most prospects are just lost and scared, and they've made mistakes like everybody does, and failure is part of the human condition. It's unavoidable, so you may as well just take it on the chin and learn to deal with it. But most people don't. They get paralysed. They let their ego get in the way. They let themselves get self-sabotage. They get self-sabotage. They run really terrible parental scripts, like, you'll never amount to anything, no one in our family ever, you always do this. And that's where the persecutor comes in. So you've got a persecuting parent ego state, which tells you that you're a bad human being for role performance, which is role performance, not identity, not who you are. So you get involved in power games with your prospect. Is the interview going the way that you're expecting? Good.
Absolutely, yeah, this is great stuff.
They get involved in power games. They get involved in being defensive and playing the victim. It's so unfair. No one plays nicely. The universe conspires against me. This always happens to me. And victims are only attractive to manipulators and persecutors and bullies. So the worst position you can find yourself in is that of a victim. You then have the rescuer. Now, I've got a middle daughter who loves to rescue. Rescuing is helping without boundaries and helping without permission. So what happens? She gets slapped by her sisters for being an interfering pain in the neck. See, I tempered that for you. So as a result, she ends up feeling victimized, and then she lashes out and becomes the persecutor all on her own. So you'll see how these power games, it's called Karpman Triangle, Karpman, and that looks at the child and negative parental game-playing state. Now, there's a much more mature version, which is the adult and positive parent, where the persecutor becomes assertive, the rescuer becomes nurturing or empathic, and the victim becomes vulnerable. And vulnerable is the most powerful position of all, and that's the best lesson that came out of TA for me, the realization that by being willing to be hurt and showing that courage means that actually you carry more credibility. It means that you do the right thing. And even if it doesn't serve you in sales, you should be willing to walk away from a business if it serves you, but it doesn't serve your prospect or your client. And this is where a lot of salespeople develop the terrible reputation for the industry that, frankly, is largely deserved, because most of them are overpaid clowns with a credit card and an expense account. So it doesn't surprise me that most people are afraid of selling and don't see themselves as salespeople. Did you have a question, by the way?
No, that's fantastic. Honestly, I think what the Sandler training did for me was to give me confidence, the confidence that I never had in the past. And it is, as you say, no confidence to ask the right questions, no confidence to ask any questions, because, I mean, particularly for me, who had always been brought up in the advertising industry, a service industry where pitching is the norm, you wouldn't even think about not pitching. You know, you have to be in it to win it, that kind of mentality.
I can't resist interrupting because it's in my nature to be rude.
Go on.
I've got a client who's a branding consultancy. They've been going for 17 years. They've, in the last 2 days, picked up 2 pieces of work, 125 and 60 grand. Okay. The first piece of work was with an existing client. It's one of their best clients. They've been working with for God knows how long and done dozens of projects with and demonstrated their capability in every area. They've been on 5 meetings to get this piece of work. Okay, so they've already spent £25,000 in cost of sale by the time they're done. They was going to go to pitch after 5 meetings. So I coached them. They did 1 phone call and they walked out with the order, £125,000, selling to a French company, okay, and not even selling to the CEO, but getting their sponsor to go and close the CEO by rehearsing them. Okay, that was one. The following day, 60 grand, again for their best client, who they've done all the work for before, and the client had just told the CEO, we're going to take this to tender with you and 2 other companies. And Haley, my client, picked up the phone or told the boss, give me the number, I'll speak to them. Anyway, 60 grand closed on the phone. So they've just saved 30 to 50 grand's worth of pitch costs, and they made 185,000 at 74% gross profit just by applying some will and some gumption. Because you have to be able to plant your feet. The customer is not king, and he's almost never right. In fact, if he is, I'll eat my own socks after wearing them for a month. Okay? I mean, they never come with the real problem. If they knew how to fix the problem, they would have. And the reason they want you to spill your guts is so they can steal what you have, they can give it to your competition and get their pricing down, or they can give it to their preferred supplier and use you as the whipping boy. Why would you ever write a proposal unless somebody has said exactly what goes into it for me to buy, at how much budget, and I will buy at that rate if you deliver X, Y, and Z over this time period? Why would you write a proposal unless you had all of that lined up? Because it's a work of fiction otherwise. And pitches. Sorry, I'm on one now.
You're on one, aren't you?
Your friend and mine, the global head of health at a well-known PR firm, was invited by a Swiss drugs company to go over and pitch for a piece of work for a drug that was growing in 15 European countries at 40% per annum, with no marketing, no PR, no advertising, and no activity at all by any agency. And everyone had to hit their number by achieving 10% growth. Do you think there was a single person in all of Europe, in the entire drugs company, who wanted them to touch that project? Not a chance. So what happened was, after 4 questions, I identified this was a bogus RFP, and the rule is all RFPs are bogus. And he went back to the business, pitched them, got procurement beaten back under the rock they damn well deserve to, because they are lying, thieving, gutter snipe scum. I love them to bits, incidentally. He then managed to find £3 million worth of genuine pipeline, and the other 2 companies spent £79,000 and £84,000 respectively for the first 2-week round pitch to get to stage 1, to present their ideas, to then go back and do the second round pitch and spend another £79,000 to £84,000. So not only did our friend manage to walk out of there with real business, having spent £800 round trip returned, okay, and that was his cost of sale, as opposed to spending 158 to £178,000 in completely futile costs, so that procurement could find out how well they negotiated, who their people were, what skills they had, what weaknesses they had, what pricing they offered, how much movement there was before they were ever going to negotiate on a real bid sometime in the next 2 years. So it had absolutely nothing to do with what it was, nothing to do with the pitch that they were presenting to the market. That was just a God-given opportunity for them to use 120 different tactical moves to steal your margin before you negotiate. That's what procurement does. Look up a system called PICOS. P-I-C-O-S. It's the devil's own buying system. And I can beat it. Yes.
Fantastic.
That's another reason why I like sales.
Marcus, there will be people listening to this thinking, wow, that's exactly what I should be doing. Pardon?
He's mad.
He's mad. No, but they'll be thinking, no, I want those kind of results. What Marcus is saying really resonates with me. I can see that procurement do that. I'm in the system. I'm giving them all my information, everything before I even know it. No, it's not. I'm just going to say my next question is, but how the people that work with you. I mean, the testimonials are fantastic on your website. There's obviously people that work with you that succeed, but perhaps others don't succeed. What are the ones?
Not for everyone. You're right.
Well, it's true. You're not for everyone. I mean, not everybody wants to be told how to run their business, or perhaps be exposed to some of the flaws that they're creating themselves within their business.
My job's not to tell them how to do it. It's to wake them up and open their eyes to what's really going on. So no one likes the Spanish Inquisition. If you go on to The Inquisitor, with a capital T, _ Inquisitor with a capital I, you'll understand why. Because I send out regular questions designed to make you feel uncomfortable. My job is to hold up the ugly mirror and make you stare into it. And as you're peering into the abyss and you're thinking, okay, it's to make sure that you get put back together again when you fail. But it's tough out there. And it is war, whether you like it or not. This is the deepest recession we have ever had. It's deeper than the tulip recession of the 1700s and the 80s. This is my third or fourth recession. I can't remember which. It's just becoming habitual. And this is one of the other things. Recession is a brilliant time to set up a business because all the crap people are running scared and they're licking their wounds in hotel lobbies, drinking cappuccinos, or staring at the phone aggressively praying it will ring. Or they'll miraculously trip out over the valley of lost prospects. They don't bloody well exist. Get out there, pull your finger out, and ask yourself the question, what is it that I help people fix? Why is it that people need my help? Because no one buys the features and benefits. I can talk to you all day about training and technique and tactics and all this type of stuff. But no one pays me for that. They pay me to get out of the hole they're in. They pay me to get away from bullying bosses and manipulating and controlling them. They get me to help them prevent them having to stop paying school fees and putting their children into the roughest, toughest comprehensive in Nottingham so that they end up having to be searched with metal detectors and security guards when they go in. They pay me to save their business because they're lying, thieving business partners just run off with their top people and their best clients when you're 56 and on the verge of retirement and you're thinking you were going to retire in 2 years' time. Yeah, one client that happened to 2 years ago, he's back up to 900,000 turnover, yeah, and he's phoenixed that business using this stuff, and it was tough. It's not easy. It's very simple. I mean, when you think about it, why do people buy? For their reasons, not the salespeople. How do you find out? What's the best way to find out what someone wants? Well, ask them. Instead of pussyfooting around trying to make some cruddy presentation about your reasons why you think your widget is shinier than the next guy's, there's always going to be someone with a bigger, better, faster feature. And they'll all claim the same old crap. I mean, one of my favourite exercises is just for a minute, stop and write down the top 3 benefits of your business. Okay, now you've written them down. Bad news, you've been fired or your company's folded. Now the good news is you've just been hired by your biggest competitor. Write down their top 3 features and benefits. Okay, odds are very high, they're identical. Okay, so why would you bother trying to differentiate on stuff you can't differentiate on? Because everyone else will claim that ground. There's only one message. Remember Bill Clinton up against whoever it was, I can't remember because he's forgotten now. I
was going to say Monica Lewinsky, but that's probably a bad joke.
No, that reminds me of the joke about the koala eating shoots and leaves, but anyway, that's I've lost my track. Yeah,
sorry.
His campaign manager came up with, I mean, he told Clinton clearly, because Clinton's verbose and wordy like me, only probably with more lucidity. Clinton banged on about everything and gave responses in detail. And instead, his campaign manager came up with the slogan, "It's about the economy, stupid." Now, you can only have one first to mind. They can't be talking about the deficit if they're talking about the economy, stupid. There's only one lead, and you need to be able to get that message through to your prospects. So who is your prospect? What keeps them awake at night? What makes them lie awake thinking, I really need some help? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I've had enough of having too much month left at the end of the money. I'm tired of not getting paid. I'm tired of having to discount. I'm tired of having to work really hard and over service accounts who don't appreciate me, lie, steal, mislead and hide from me, set me ludicrous deadlines. This needs to be done. My CEO's flying in on Monday and they call you at 4 o'clock on Friday, so you waste your entire weekend for them to put it under the boss's nose and for it to be put into the holding account, or even better, the round file. That's the dustbin for those of you who don't understand the terminology. You could be chasing these people for weeks or months. I've got someone in with me at the moment who says it takes up to 2 years. 2 years? 2 years to get a sale. Now, why would you chase anybody for 2 years? Can you imagine the amount of energy, effort, morale-sapping crap that you've got to put up with? Why would you do that?
No idea.
Excellent.
I think this...
That's the response I was hoping for.
This is obviously going to resonate with a lot of people, and what always amazes me is how little it seems to me that Sandler is known about in the UK. I haven't, when I used...
Oh, we're great at selling it.
He didn't say that.
You are.
Can you edit that out, please?
Okay.
And in fact, actually, we're brilliant at marketing for you.
So if anyone's listening to this, Marcus, and they're thinking, wow, this guy really seems to know what he's talking about, and I really want to work with him, so how do they reach you? How do they get hold of you?
My recommendation is go out and find someone who knows me and get referred in, because you'll get much warmer reception, because I'm a sceptical and doubting Thomas. So speak to Jenny and get an intro, and that'll keep the administration on her desk rather than mine. Look at my profile on LinkedIn. There's some stuff on there. I blog on my website, which is http://london1.sandler.com, and the one is a numeral, so LONDON 1.sandler.com. You can email me at mcauchi, that's Mama Charlie Alpha Uniform Charlie Hotel India @sandler.com. And you can phone me on 07515 937 221, or you can see me on Twitter as The Inquisitor, and on Facebook. But just track me down, read some of my stuff, argue with it. I'm up for a good scrap, so if you don't believe or agree with anything, feel free to start, because it's always fun having that game. And just go out to enjoy yourself. I mean, you set your business up for a reason, and it wasn't to work for tossers. It wasn't to be kicked around by people who didn't appreciate you. You probably foolishly thought that you'd be working for yourself instead of the taxman up until the 6th of June, and then the bank up until the 23rd of October, and then the school fees and everyone else up until the 23rd of December, so you get the last 8 days of the year to yourself. You didn't expect it to be this tough. It needn't be. If you do a little and often of the right things, and you do it really well, you'll make a good living. But you've got to fill your pipeline up. Stop dodging the issue. Are you asking for referrals? Have you got a referral habit? That's often a reason why people get in touch with me first, because they're sick and tired of doing a good job, and then every referral they get is a surprise. Okay? If you have trouble picking up the phone, it's a doddle. I can teach you how to get 80% callbacks on voicemail, and to get through 95% of gatekeepers and get a chance to speak to the decision maker. It's really simple stuff, but you've got to do it. You actually have to get off your bottom, pick up the phone and speak to people. You have to, when you send out letters, you actually have to follow up. If you're going to do marketing, actually do marketing. Don't talk about it. And going to social networking events where you speak to the people you already know and you complain about how poor you all are is not work. That's a substitute for a bad social life.
I think, Marcus, I mean, we started off by saying you are known as one of the toughest sales trainers, but I have to say that you were very gentle with me and you really nurtured me through the whole process, and I grew amazingly through working with you. So I would say to everyone, don't be put off, but you don't suffer fools gladly. And
I don't suffer people suffering themselves gladly, and I don't suffer people getting in their own way. I mean, no one pays me to be their friend. In fact, it's a problem. If I'm more worried about you liking me than being able to tell you the candid, horrible, cold hard truth, you'll stay stuck. And no one pays me outrageous amounts of money for the privilege of being patted on the back and being told, it'll be all right, Jen. Okay? The reality is you had issues that you wanted to address. And to be perfectly blunt, it was easy working with you because you took the advice, you wanted the help. If people want help and they're proactive in seeking it out, I'm very generous with my time if it's appropriate to do so. But I'm not going to push rope uphill. If you want someone to cuddle you all the time, I'm really not it. If you want someone who can actually help you transform your sales and your business forever, and whichever business, I mean, a good example is Walter and Sergio now have 4 businesses where they're applying the Sandler principle, and they operate out of London, Milan, Berlin, and Rio, and Mumbai. Okay, not bad for guys who are losing £300,000 a year when they first met me 7 years ago. Wow. Another guy, Paul Manson, took his business from 4 weeks from the liquidator coming in, had him at break even at 5 weeks, and 6 years later he's doing 2.8 million selling print to retailers in the middle of a recession, making 32% net margin. Yeah. So I can do all sorts of wonderful things, but you have to do the work, and that's what was brilliant about working with you, Jen. You actually applied it. I remember being in the car park after we'd done a coaching session, and you being back on the phone to your client and already closed him on the next step before I'd even been able to get to my car. I like people like that. Send me a few more like you.
Well, I'll see what I can do, Marcus.
Deep pockets as well.
Yeah, okay. Marcus, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. I think this is brilliant. You've given us so much to think about, and obviously, if anyone wants to get in contact with me, then they can do so through the website where this video will be. So, thank you so much.
Can I just make one quick plug? We have an executive briefing for anyone in London, and it's on the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of the month, 8:30 till 11 in Mortlake. It's the most uncomfortable 2.5 hours you will ever have in your business career and possibly your life. I'm not going to hold back, but you will see why buyers control you, why your money concept and why them holding on to the budget makes you feel like you have to do what they tell you. And at the end of it, you'll see a way out of it. I'll offer you a glimmer of hope, but remember, hope is not a strategy.
Brilliant last note. Thank you so much, Marcus. All right, and
thanks, Jen. Have a good day.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.